Rebel religion in the news.
Good morning. Welcome to Rebel Religion in the News. I'm your host, Jerry O'Lennon, along with Pastor Alfredo Romero to my immediate right. And then further right, we have Bishop Peter Hansen from St. Augustine Canterbury Anglican Church. Good morning, gentlemen.
Welcome.
Let's get right to it. This is a hot-button topic right here. Pope Francis is about to make a gay rights advocate a cardinal. I don't know what to think about that. Is there anything positive about that? Why is he doing this? And we have so many questions, and I know that we don't have somebody who is Catholic, but we have somebody, I guess Anglican is a kind of a branch off Catholicism, or how would you? Yes.
Sure. Well, we consider ourselves part of the greater Catholic Church, not Roman.
The small c.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. Because it means universal, and we didn't exit the universal church to become Anglican separate.
I just want to make sure I have the news correct.
Get it right.
On December 8th, among those of the 21 new cardinals that Francis has appointed, one of them is a pro-LGBT Dominican friar named Timothy Radcliffe. So,
Yeah.
does this ever happen before? Where we have somebody who was a avowed, known supporter of LGBT, I never can get those letters right.
Well, we've never had all those letters before, so that's true. First of all, we need to define terms. I mean, what's a cardinal? The cardinals, the College of Cardinals are the electors for the popes. So, and they are a sort of a judgmental legislative body with the pope for matters theological. So, he is obviously christening and condoling this whole arena, and he has been a kind of all his. Francis has been pope for about 11 years, and he has always championed sexual
Liberties?
liberties, or what do we say?
Freedom?
Alternate sexual lifestyles, and he. This is a big step forward. Now, what this jumps over is the idea, because they are completely going with priests and bishops who have sexually abused other males who have been in seminaries. And one thing that never makes the news when we find out one of these child stories where the priests have sexually abused the children in the congregation, we fail to mention that the victims are mostly boys, and that this is a homosexual problem. It can be both genders, but it's mostly this way. We're jumping over the fact that this is not only just sexual behavior, and gosh, we ought to be lenient about it, but the Catholic priesthood is supposed to be a celibate office. It has been for 1,000 years, and that's their pride, their hope that they have priests who aren't engaged in sexual conduct. If that's the case, I don't care what their
Sexual proclivity?
Their attraction might be to, because I'm a heterosexual. I'm attracted to women, and I don't go to bed with them, except I have a wife. That's it, and that's one. That's done. I mean, that's morality. But if you have a celibate priesthood, you're not supposed to be engaged in that. I don't care where your druthers are.
That's a great point. In other words, whether the candidate to be a bishop in the Catholic Church is, or a cardinal, has a proclivity toward men or women, they're not supposed to be involved intimately with
Acting
either.
out on it. Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Why is the Pope doing this? What is his motivation?
Well, he has been part. He came out of the liberation theology movement of South America, which is really a Marxist movement, and so people would say, perhaps, I can't say for sure, but Marxism is anti-Christian, frankly, and I think that you create theological doubt by first creating moral doubt. Is it really okay, or is it really bad, or is it really wrong? You had the movie Doubt that you had.
Wonderful
had me watch.
film.
You thought so, and I was very bothered by it. I mean, it was maybe wonderfully put together, but God, that was a strange message, and I felt soiled at the end of it, because you're just not supposed to come down on anybody's side or for or against. You're supposed to be for this priest.
Never saw it.
You should see it.
It's called Doubt. I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep.
I'll trust you.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep.
I don't want to be disturbed. I don't like disturbing videos or films.
Anyway, it's permission. You know, this whole thing about the legalization of marijuana in California, and now proposing to have, you know, pubs that smoke dope instead of drink beer. Oh, that's going to be great. Nobody's going to get hurt. You know, there won't be any addiction. There won't be any drug problems. We're just permitting it.
One of the questions that somebody had with me about relating to the Pope, because I don't understand, and I think you do, how Catholicism works. Is this some sort of statement that said that's an infallible decision, or
No.
it's not? Could you explain what is a decision? For example, Mary being the Immaculate Conception, which came in the 1850s, I believe, and that was. What's that called when the Pope makes a statement?
Papal bull or a statement ex cathedra.
Ex cathedra.
Ex cathedra. The cathedra is his bishop's seat, or the seat of the bishop or of the Pope, this throne. When he proclaims something from the throne, it's a special kind of proclamation. Well, nobody really exactly defines what that means. What is an ex cathedra pronouncement? We're not completely sure, but you know, probably his statement that he's without, he can make infallible statements from ex cathedra. That's an infallible statement.
But that's not the case here with
Just
appointing the
selection
cardinal.
of a cardinal does not make a doctrine, but it's a pretty darn strong statement.
But it's fair to say that there have been cardinals that probably had
Leanings?
homosexual
Sure.
tendencies.
Oh gosh, they've been homosexual bishops.
But
They've been
this is
homosexual
one
popes.
this is one where you know the person
Right.
has that and still
And you're
wants to appoint them
giving
that
him a
position.
platform.
And that's what I was going to say. If in leadership, in the church, Catholic, whatever, any true church, if you know somebody has an openness to it, whether they've made it public or not, but if I knew one of my leaders was living that lifestyle, I would never appoint them. It could not be a leader. Could not be a leader. So I don't understand. That's his point. If he knows somebody, this is public though. My question is how many leaders in that church that they know have that proclivity to that lifestyle, and they allow them to lead anyway. We just know about this one. How do we know there's not any more?
Well, you know, there has to be more.
Got to be.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it, you know, if you go into the stories that are not told about seminaries and places where a large number of men are in cloister, the sexual stories out of there are shocking. You don't want to know. So we're trying to make it all right, so we feel good about ourselves here, and say we're going to promote it now, but forgetting the fact that this was never supposed to be your behavior. You're supposed to be out of the game, you know.
Well, the Sacramento Diocese announced that it's gone bankrupt. It's filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Yes. And one of the reasons is primarily because they're paying off so many lawsuits, and they've reached the point where they could just no longer pay off all these. And so they filed for bankruptcy.
This could really, really cripple the church.
Right.
Yeah, the more you go in that direction.
So is this maybe an effort to say, you know, this is okay for us to do this? Or, I mean, but obviously it's not okay if it's a child. I mean, that's what we're talking about. But even then, some of these lawsuits involved people who were older than maybe age of consent, because it's a trust between a pastor or a priest. And even if the victim, the so-called victim, who engages in a consensual relationship with a man of the cloth,
Is a legal adult.
even if it's legal adult, it still crossed a line,
Of course.
which could create a lawsuit.
It's the same thing that they do even in the business world, where if you have somebody in a position of power,
Yeah.
and that's how they kind of define it. If you're in a position of power and you take advantage of a subordinate, you know, then that's where the problem comes with that. So that's if it's two consenting adults. So because you know I was forced, he was my boss, he was my superior, and I felt pressured to do this. That's where the angle comes from.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a legitimate point too. By the way, I mean we saw that happen in the White House during the Clinton years, and
Oh,
Sure.
and to this day, I look at someone like Monica Lewinsky, and was she a sinner? Was she wrong? Yes, but sometimes I see Monica Lewinsky as more of a victim than I do
Oh, yeah.
a sinner.
I do too.
You know, she's 52 years old. She's not married. She has no children. I don't think that's what she had planned for her life. But I think that moment in time destroyed her views of relationships, and every time I see Monica Lewinsky, I go, oh, gosh, I feel so bad for her.
And the publicity that came from it. I mean, I'm not. I wish she would have found somebody she could have spent her life with, had a family, have children. But at me, I would say if I just met her, just Monica Lewinsky as a man, how would you get past you slept with the president? You scandalous and
But I suspect that even more than that, I think that she was greatly affected about her trust of men.
Oh, sure,
and her view of men.
Well, and of the
Because
whole
of that.
society, because she got blamed for most of that.
Right.
She was shamed out, certainly by his wife,
Yeah.
if nothing else.
Boy, I know we kind of deviated from talking about the Pope, and let's just finish up. We have about a minute left in this segment. What does this mean for is there going to be pushback from the Catholic Church on these type of what the decisions the Pope has made? The Pope even just said about a week before this that it's okay for any avenue, any religion to lead to God, and
Yeah.
that was another thing he said, which is completely anti-biblical.
Right, and they're permitting gay blessings in the church now. So
Right.
it's really it's speeding up, and it's I don't want to come off sounding like I hate gays. I have
No.
gay friends, so I mean, and I'm not
too.
Me too.
I don't have a problem with them, but that doesn't say everything they do is right. I can't say that to anybody. Everything you're doing is perfectly right, and God blesses it, and it's all good. We all have our problems to deal with. But when the church champions this kind of behavior and says it's right, it really opens the floodgates for abuses and troubles that I don't want to see them go through.
We are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue our discussion. We're going to move on to something different about religious freedom and politics. And sometimes we get tired of talking about religion and politics, but it is the season, so we're going to do that when we come back.
Yep.
All right, welcome back. We are basically less than a month now away from the election for the presidency, and of course, a lot of other issues and candidates. In your churches, let's start with Bishop Peter Hansen of St. Augustine Canterbury Anglican Church. I sense that your church, having gone to it several times, you don't get involved much in politics, certainly not in the pulpit, but also I sense that not amongst maybe your groups, or am I wrong about that? Do you guys talk a lot about politics, or is that something that's sort of try to avoid, especially in the heat of this campaign season?
Well, if we're in a broad enough crowd, we know we are in a mixed crowd in terms of opinions, and those opinions held dearly on either side of the aisle are rather passionate, especially right now. So you don't need to touch that off. Our faith life and our promotion of what God says is the primary job of the church. We're not there to set up political stuff. But that being said, if we're going to talk about moral issues, there are moral issues that touch on your selection of candidates. And I think, on this show, we break through the veil a little bit here and say, oh, come on. We've got some candidates who are doing things that are completely antithetical to true faith, and that to choose that person to lead the nation is to completely blind oneself to what the effect is going to be on people of faith.
And Alfredo, say what you always say. You're the what party?
I'm the Jesus party.
Right.
And so absolutely. So what we do talk about different topics with our men's group in our church, whether it's society or entertainment or sports or politics or culture, whatever. And we take it from the angle of what the Bible says. If somebody asks me a question about politics, I go, let me see what the Bible says. Let me see, what does God say about this topic? So we take it by the topics on the platform to any political party. I think the biggest thing is to be able to tell people, if they talk, I'll back up. We don't talk, in a sense, politics as the main topic. We break down what every candidate stands for, and we say, is Jesus for this or against it? And that's how we view every topic.
Okay. Let's go with this. This was the Pew Research Center found that the survey found that 52% of Catholics, 52% of Catholics, 61% of Protestants support Trump for president, 47% of Catholics, 37% of Protestants back Kamala Harris. So based on this, the Jesus Party, according to the Pew Research Center, is the Republican Party, is the Jesus Party. But is it really? The Republican Party has kind of eased up on abortion. Okay, we allow 15 weeks, we're okay with it. We're okay with gay marriage, that's fine. Is the Republican Party really the Jesus Party? Is it really?
Okay. What you see, I love the way the news interviewers on these political things set up a premise statement,
Right.
and then they ask a question launched
Right.
on that. And I like to go back and question the original premise.
Okay.
Because I don't see it exactly that way.
Fair enough.
I mean, if you're going to say we're okay with gay marriage, well, no, we're not going to make it illegal.
Right.
The Republican Party hasn't backed off of its pro-life position. We would like to see a nation where abortion is not the go-to, and it's only used for rape, incest, or the life of the mother. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to make laws that govern the people, considering the people that we have right now, you don't make too stringent laws, or you create a backwash that's going to bring back Roe v. Wade. Mm-hmm. We're going to have something reasonable that the people can live with as a general standard, while saying that abortion is always a bad thing. Mm-hmm. It may not be a comparatively bad thing compared to saving the life of the mother or considering her situation, mm-hmm. But it's a horrible thing, and it's the death of a child. And you do that because it hurts. Even if a woman needs to have that abortion because she'll die otherwise, it hurts her to have her child killed. Mm-hmm. And to ignore it and to say, it's nothing, it's a blob of tissue, you're lying. She knows that. Mm-hmm. And we're not dealing with her pain. We can acknowledge it, we can mourn with her and say, yes, it's sad.
This might be a good time to put up a graphic on our podcast, and if you're listening on the radio, to remind people that the Women's Resource Clinic's annual fall banquet is taking place October 11th. That's a Friday night. This Friday night. It's 6 o'clock at the Chico Elks Lodge, and all the information is on the screen if you're watching our podcast. Again, it's Friday evening. If you want more information, again, the number is on the screen, as is the website. But if you don't, if you're listening on the radio and you want to contact the Women's Resource Clinic, they're a pro-life organization that encourages women by providing, support, counseling, and even, items like diapers and clothes and, onesies. All free. Here's their number, okay? So write it down if you're on the radio. 530-897-6101. 897-6101, Women's Resource Clinic in Chico, California, located over off the Esplanade.
I'll be there.
I'll be there too.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought a table.
Yeah.
I just want to mention one thing real quick. Sometimes people ask me, when in my men's group or individual friends will ask me, how do I vote? Who do I vote? First of all, I think it's important that we vote. As American citizens, I think it's important we vote. As Christians, I believe it's important we vote. That's my personal opinion. But they'll ask me, well, how do you select a candidate? Or, are you Republican, Democrat? And I say, yes. I said, yes, I'm the Jesus Party. So here's what I do. And I think I've said this before. I look at the platforms. I look at the topics. And I know that I'm not appointing, POTUS doesn't stand for Pastor of the United States. I'm not going to get a perfect person in there. So what I do is I look at all what they stand for. And I can look. I say, listen, let's say there's 10 Jesus boxes I'm looking at. If this candidate checks 6 of them and the other one checks 1 of them, who am I going to support?
That's an interesting discussion, and we have about 5 minutes left. I'll throw a question out there. The immigration issue is one of those issues where the Democratic Party says, we're the party of Jesus. We're the party that's encouraging people to come and help them to live better lives. We're the party of Jesus, not the Republican Party, which wants to keep everybody out and doesn't want to help them at all. What do you say?
There's that premise again. Well,
Yes.
I mean, and I love
Well,
how
that's I'm saying
the
that's
dealers
what they're
did it.
going to say.
That's what they're going to say.
That's what they're going to say.
Yeah.
And they do say it.
I got an answer.
They do say it. You ever watch Morning Joe on MSNBC?
Oh, yeah.
They say it all the time.
Yeah.
We're the Jesus Party because we welcome immigrants into this country. It's not all issues. You could cut both ways.
20 million people here illegally,
Right.
ducking and weaving and trying to stay out from under view, or hoping that that some party allows them to stay in or do a mass amnesty, is not a healthy way to go about immigration. Yes, we need immigration. You know why we need immigration? Because of abortion and failure to marry and bear children in sufficient numbers is reducing our population of indigenous Americans. That's a proven fact, and that's true across America and all of Europe.
I think I say that not because. Go ahead.
So we need labor. We need people to do these jobs, and that's one of the forces of this. It's always been a battleground. The braceros back in the 50s and 60s, we brought Mexicans over here to pick our fruit and send them back, enriched, paid for, but we didn't make them citizens. But we can have an improved immigration system if we would only just do that, instead of adding 87,000 new IRS agents, we could add that many new immigration officers and process this stuff. I've been involved with immigration, with people coming to this country and becoming naturalized, and it's an arduous, crazy, long, horrendous process, and it's hard, and it takes years, and it's expensive. Streamline that to some degree, but with the kind of filters on it that we can know who's coming into this country. We're having the sewers, human sewers of people out of insane asylums, prisons, of other countries, just throwing them away and throwing them across our borders and say, here, you deal with them. You want everybody, here they are. This is not who we want in America.
I've been to two ceremonies which those immigrants have gone through the
Naturalized,
process,
yeah.
and it's one of the most touching, moving,
Yeah.
people in tears
Yeah.
because of the work they've done. It's such of a prideful moment when
Yeah.
they do it the right way, and it's a wonderful, wonderful ceremony. I don't know if you've ever been to one of those. They're fascinating.
Haven't, but I'm very proud of them.
Now,
Yeah.
people ask me all the time about immigration, and I say, I've had people tell me, like the premise you set up with that question a while ago.
I know.
We're the Jesus Party. We're the one that let everybody in. I'm like, and I've had people say, that's not in the Bible. That all these people aren't able to come in and they would travel back and forth. I went, wait a minute. You had to have papers to travel. You just read the first opening parts of Luke, where did Mary and Joseph have to go? There was a census being taken. Everybody had to go back to their area of origin. And there had to be a census taken. You had to have papers to travel. Paul had dual citizenship. It wasn't about individual people and their races. It was about borders as their nationality. It was about where you came from. It wasn't about who you are, your color. It was about borders. Where's your nation?
The only point I was making was that the other party, the Democratic Party, is going to say, we are the Jesus Party, and here's why,
Yes,
and they're
I
not
know.
going to listen to what you just said.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
the reality. And then we didn't even get into the point where they're
No.
going to say, well, we need to tax the rich so that we do what Jesus wants, which is to make sure more people are giving to those in need.
It's because they twist scripture.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're,
When we tax the rich, nobody's giving anything. They're being forced.
They're being forced
It's a
to.
whole other matter.
Yeah.
A whole
Right.
other thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're in the political season, and
Yeah,
it's. Will you be glad when it's over?
Oh, I'll be, well, let's see who wins.
On that note,
Let's see who
we bring
wins.
the notes of our music on from Rebel Religion in the News. I want to thank Bishop Peter Hansen of St. Augustine Canterbury Anglican Church, 10 o'clock service time. You can see on your screen if you're watching the podcast. And, of course, Pastor Alfredo Romero, Rock of Life Fellowship. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Take good care and so long.
Thanks.
Rebel religion in